Thank you for joining us at this hour. I'm Daniel Choy here to provide you with the latest. For the first time in 15 years, a North Korean foreign minister attended the ongoing United Nations General Assembly in New York. Su-yong gave a highly anticipated speech at the meeting on Saturday. Our Kim Hyun-bin starts us off by telling us what he had to say.
North Korean Foreign Minister Su-yong used his speech to the UN General Assembly on Saturday to shift the blame away from his regime and onto the United States for the issues that has it at odds with the international community. Over North Korea's nuclear program, he said his regime would disarm only once the U.S. changes its policy toward the North.
The nuclear issue can be resolved only if and when the threat to our sovereignty and our right to life is removed, which requires the United States to end its hostile policy toward the DPRK.
Over the North's abysmal human rights record, Lee said the regime is willing to talk. He said the North expressed a desire to take part last week in an unprecedented high-level meeting on the issue, which was hosted by the U.S., but the U.S. rejected the request.
The DPRK is willing to engage in dialogue on the human rights issue. We are willing to cooperate, but it has to be on equal footing with other countries that are not hostile to us.
During a 20-minute meeting with UN Secretary General Ban Ki-moon on the sidelines, Lee handed over a handwritten letter from North Korean leader Kim Jong-un. The United Nations did not give out any details about what was said. But after receiving it, Ban asked the North for permission and support, and having UN organizations help out the North Korean people. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
And the foreign minister of China also addressed the UN General Assembly on Saturday, using part of his speech to touch on the long-stalled six-party talks aimed at disarming North Korea's nuclear program. Wang Yi said the dialogue needed to start up again as soon as possible, calling it the only viable means to resolving the issue. The foreign minister also urged relevant parties to exercise restraint, refrain from provocations, and work towards easing tensions on the peninsula. The six-party talks, which consist of the U.S., Japan, China, Russia, and the two Koreas, have not taken place since the year 2008. Both Seoul and Washington insist that Pyongyang demonstrate its commitment to denuclearization before the talks can resume. And a new report out of the United States calls on Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe to correct his perception of history and make amends with former victims of Japanese colonialism. The U.S. Congressional Research Service in the report criticized the Abe administration's recent review of the 1993 Kono Statement, a landmark apology to the women forced into sexual slavery by the Japanese military during World War II. The report said such acts deteriorate Japan's already strained ties with China and Korea and ultimately hurt U.S. relations with East Asian nations. A growing number of Japanese citizens appear to be of a similar mindset. In a recent survey conducted on some 3,000 Japanese students, 64% said their government needed to apologize and compensate the victims. Since Korea is an aging society, it stands to reason that the number of dementia patients in the country would be on the rise. But a new report shows that the number of people with the disease is growing at an accelerating rate, which has experts and medical professionals sounding the alarm. Our Kim Ji-yeon has this report.
1 out of every 10 Koreans who are in their 70s or older have dementia. As of last year, the Health Insurance Review and Assessment Service says more than 400,000 people were suffering from dementia-related mental diseases, which is nearly twice the figure from 4 years earlier. The main symptoms of dementia can include memory loss, sudden mood swings, and a deterioration of one's sense of smell. Reducing the effects, doctors say, requires early action.
Patients get better easily with medication and supervision when treated in the initial stages of the disease. But this is not the case for those in the final stages.
In order to prevent dementia, experts recommend a healthy lifestyle that includes reading and learning new activities to stimulate the brain. At least 30 minutes of regular exercise a day, at least 3 times a week, can also help. Experts are also calling on the government to institute preventative measures, as dementia stands to take a financial toll on the country. Medical expenses for treating dementia in Korea reached $533 million in 2013, double the total from just 4 years earlier. To provide support, the government has been increasing the number of dementia care centers throughout the country and has adjusted the basic pension plan. More than 4 million people who are over the age of 65 and in the bottom 70% income bracket began receiving pension payments of up to $90 last month. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
Korean banks and financial institutions will soon have permission from regulators in both countries to invest in Chinese bonds. Korea's Financial Services Commission said Sunday it was nearing a deal with its Chinese counterpart that would provide local institutions the special status they need to invest in Chinese equities. The move will be of particular interest to institutions with an eye on the China interbank bond market, which accounts for about 90% of all bonds trading in China and where the yield is more than 100 basis points higher than in Korea. In sports, at the Asian Games in Incheon this Sunday, Korean men's baseball squad defend their title for a repeat at the championships here, winning gold, trouncing Taiwan 6-3 in the finals. In archery, Korea trashed China 6-0 in the women's team recurve finals. Chung Ta-seomi of that same team went on to clinch individual recurve archery gold after beating her compatriot Chang Hye-jin 7-1. Olympic champ Oh Jin-hyuk did the men's side proud by beating China's Yong Ji-wei 6-4 in the individual recurve archery finals. Another gold came from cyclist Chang Kyung-gu for the men's road race, while Park Young became the third straight South Korean Asiad individual golf champ. And before that, another gold was hauled in at the women's trials bowling event, Korea's second gold from that sport. Here are the current medal standings for the Asian Games in Incheon. Shifting gears to a different story now, the U.S.-led coalition against Islamic State militants carried out more airstrikes in Syria on Saturday, hitting key targets in the town of Kobani and in the country's east. Turkish Dogan news agency reports that Kurdish forces retook some positions they lost to the Islamic militants a few days ago, thanks to the air support. Other coalition airstrikes fortified by the latest additions of Britain, Belgium, and Denmark targeted IS compounds in the central province of Homs and the northern region of Raqqa and Aleppo. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights said they had no reports of any civilian casualties in Saturday's strikes so far. Pro-democracy activists are making good on their promise to paralyze Hong Kong's financial district through sit-ins and civil disobedience. Thousands of protesters associated with the Occupy Central movement continued with mass demonstrations on Sunday at government buildings. They follow a week of student-led boycotts and protests which are demanding fully democratic elections for Hong Kong in 2017. The city's chief executive on Sunday held a press conference where he promised consultations on electoral reform, ordered demonstrators to leave, and warned people not to join in the movement. While intended to be peaceful rallies, there have been reports of minor clashes and arrests, with the police using tear gas on protesters. Meanwhile, rescue efforts are ongoing at and near Mount Ontake in central Japan following an eruption on Saturday. Around 250 people were initially trapped on the slopes, but most made it down safely by Saturday night. Still, around 34 climbers are reported injured, 30 missing, and 31 confirmed dead. This according to authorities who did say the figures could change. Mount Ontake sits on the border of the Nagano and Gifu prefectures. The volcano's last major eruption was back in 1979. Autumn in Korea provides much-needed relief from the sweltering summer heat, although only for a while right before the nation's notoriously bitter winters. As such, people flock outdoors to refresh their minds and souls. Little do they know, they are also getting some added physical benefits, as our Kim Min-ji reports.
Without a cloud in the sky, people are taking advantage of the sun and cool autumn breeze.
Although it's still a little hot during the day, the weather is just right to go cycling with my friends at around 4 in the afternoon.
It's nice to get some sunlight. It makes me feel good. It also helps me sleep.
The height of the sun in early autumn is lower than it is during summer, making ultraviolet rays weaker. And with low humidity levels, the weather conditions make it perfect for outdoor activities. Not only does the sun refresh your mind, it also makes your skin stronger and boosts your immune system. The vitamin D from sunlight in early autumn also helps the body better absorb calcium to make your bones stronger.
In the northern hemisphere, the sun releases rays that can produce vitamin D from late spring to early autumn.
Experts say just 30 minutes in the sun from between 10 in the morning and 2 in the afternoon will give you all the vitamin D you need. And with sunny spells forecast for the weekend, they advise people to get out and enjoy the sun. Kim Hyun-bin, Arirang News.
Well, unfortunately, people won't be getting a lot of vitamin D on Monday because there can be rain expected nationwide with up to 20 millimeters in some parts of our country. And now let's take a look at the weather conditions in your neck of the woods and around the world. Well, these are the stories we're following at this hour. Thank you for watching. Have a great start to your week.